What's going on, guys? Joey here. Just saw Superman this past Sunday, and I saw Jurassic World Rebirth on the day it came out, that Wednesday. I liked both movies a lot, and I just wanted to sort of give my thoughts, talk about it, see if maybe you agree with me. I love it when, I hear people saying things that I agree with. So maybe that can be the case for you. I really liked both movies. I thought that they were engaging and interesting. I think that the humor wasn't really that funny in them, but both of them had good colors, good stories, good cinematography, and they weren't over the top with really anything other than like Jurassic Park's mutant dinosaurs. I thought that they both are steps in the right direction, and I'm excited for the futures of both franchises. The Jurassic World one was exactly what the first Jurassic World should have been. Just like a story where they got to go to the island for some reason, things go south, and they got to get off the island. That was exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping for a little bit better of an opening scene, though, because the scene about 15, 20 minutes into the movie when the family gets flipped off of their sailboat, that scene was epic. Should have been the opening scene. All three of the original Jurassic Parks have an awesome opening scene that is iconic, and that should have been the opening scene. Instead, they did something stupid where something stupid happens, like a rapper getting caught in a door, and that shuts off everything and causes this guy to get released. It makes no sense. It wasn't exciting, and they spoiled sort of that scene in the trailers. It wasn't exciting at all, and they shouldn't have put it there. Like I said, the trailers, they spoiled just too much in the trailers. Like the scene, obviously, they spoiled the D Rex in the trailer. They spoiled the guy when you see the tail of that giant, like Argentinosaurus or whatever that dinosaur was. They see the tail, and you're like, ooh, that seems scary. Is it a raptor? They're in a cornfield, just like some of in the Lost World. But nope, instead, it's just that dinosaur, which they spoiled in the trailers. They shouldn't have done that. They should have just kept minimal stuff in the trailers and kept the excitement. Overall, I think that they also should have used more real dinosaurs. Sure, those flying pteranodon velociraptors were like maybe a little bit scary, but no, not really at all. They should have just kept that in the little tube thingy. It's cool, all right, they can fly to get them, but those things were weird. They weren't really that scary. They squeezed into that little grating, and then that never paid off underground. That was a little weird, and they should not have really had it be that way. Should have kept more raptors in it. They have like one raptor that jumps after the guy and then gets attacked by the bird, which was about the only real raptor that we saw. We saw some dinosaurs were real dinosaurs, some dinosaurs were the mutant dinosaurs. I don't even know if that one little Dolores dinosaur, if that was supposed to be a mutant or something. I thought maybe that was going to be a twist and it was actually secretly a carnivore, even though it was like beaked, that because it was standing on its hind legs for some reason. They really should have just stuck to their guns, not done all this mutant stuff. They should have seen where they went wrong. Like the D Rex was like not really scary, not intimidating. It moved slow. The only scary thing about it was that it had hands, but it moved slow. It just did not really do much. And they already showed you it in all the trailers, like I was saying. We needed more jump scares. Like, I'm not somebody who's a fan of jump scares because I just don't like getting jump scared, but that's exactly why I do watch Jurassic Park, is because of those jump scares. They needed more extras who they could have killed off, getting some jump scares. The only really times that there's ever jump scares is when they have something. This isn't even jump scare, but they used way too much the shots where the camera gets hidden by something and then the dinosaur is gone afterwards. Like, it got old after the first one, and they should have only really used it once, maybe twice, but that seemed to be their favorite trope in the entire movie. They just kept redoing that and could have kept things much scarier. They also mentioned at the beginning that they had to go immediately because other companies were going to be doing the same thing, trying to get that mission completed to do the exact same mission as them. And that's why they had to be in such a hurry. but they never paid that off. That would have added a whole bunch of extra villains. It could have kept that one big pharma guy or whatever from being a villain, and it could have let him be more dynamic instead of just straight, oh, he's the worst. It could have brought in other people that they're going against, killed those people off, nice and good deaths with some real raptors, the freaking Quetzalcoatlus, however you pronounce that, and all that kind of stuff. I think that that would have been probably the best payoff that they could have done that they totally missed. They also, I think that the boyfriend of the girl on the boat, I think that he should have died. He definitely redeemed himself. I'm not mad that he didn't die, but I think that it would have been a great character arc for him to be the douchebag who then becomes like actually he's a good guy, and then he sacrifices himself or something. Would have been great. Either him or the dad dying to save the boy. That would have really made it just great character arc for him, for the dad, their story together, accepting each other, and instead they just make them both live. They also with that little family story, I thought it would have been really funny. I know that they got to sell toys, but how funny would it have been if the little girl had used that little baby beaked dinosaur Dolores and just like sacrificed it to save herself or to save her dad or whatever? That would have been hilarious and it would have been great. I know they got to sell toys, but that would have been awesome, especially during like the river scene if they had thrown it out and then the T-Rex went for that. The boat on the river was a little silly, but I think I can forgive that because the people who designed it knew that they were designing it for dinosaurs. The Quetzalcoatlus scene, that one was really the characters' actions in that were just not very wise. They could have just run further in the cave, done this. They also it was chasing after the guy like after it gets hit in the head. How is it gonna like know? Hey, this is the guy that threw this at me, and why is he even caring? That's obviously a problem with all the Jurassic Park. Like, why did the dinosaurs care to go after this one specific person or to hunt down the people when it's just got this big meal right here or whatever? I also thought that they wasted all of the people on the boat team who were like friends with the good guys. They killed them all by the Spinosauruses, which like no, they could have had way more interesting things. Even the first guy who died, I was like, all right, fair enough, but they could have killed off them on the island. Instead, they just had the Spinos rip them off the boat, and that one girl was even stupider, who was pushing the freaking crate on, like she wouldn't notice that it's shaking the ground like all the other times, and all that. Nobody said anything. It was a stupid death, one that was really wasted, and the character that they were trying to get you to like, the death made it just salty. No pun intended there about it being on a beach. They also, that flare sacrifice by the friend of Scarlett Johansson's character, like, that was just so unintentional. The D-Rex was so slow. He also could have just thrown it. He could have sat there for a while, thrown it, gone underwater. Then they just suddenly say, oh, he's actually alive. No, that is not how it should have gone. That wasn't even necessary. Make your sacrifices worth something. And yeah, just the D-Rex, it was not scary at all. They should not have made him the villain. Make a real dinosaur the villain. I also had heard rumors that they were going to do some famous scenes from the book. They did a variation of the boat scene. They also talked about the like little guy who spits out of his frills. I can't think of the name right now. I'm blanking on that. But in real life, they are much bigger, and they're gonna try to. At least the rumors were that there's gonna be a bigger one that's full sized that does something, and they didn't pay it off, which sucks. This movie was unfortunately too catered towards kids. I don't think that the first three were as catered towards kids as much as, or they just didn't care as much and were willing to be more gory and messed up and stuff. Anyways, I really enjoyed that movie. It was a step in the right direction. Obviously, a lot of missed opportunities with having too many mutant dinosaurs and some not enough jump scares and not enough extras getting killed and not killing the ones that they had at the right time. But other than that, it was a solid movie. I'd probably give it a 7. I think that it's very hope. It gives a lot of hope, but I think that there were some missed opportunities that could have made it like a 9 or a 10. On to Superman. This movie was great. I haven't really been engaged as much in a movie like I was in this for a while. There wasn't really a single dull part where I'm like, oh, I want to look away. Like I'm kind of bored. Like in Mission Impossible, there was a lot of that. In Superman, no. The only time where I ever was even thinking, like, oh, I wish this scene would end was in the pocket dimension when Superman was like getting kryptonite poisoning from Metamorpho. But it was a lot of fun, never boring, and it was great. Obviously, I'm a big fan of James Gunn, what he does. Um, I think that the humor in this movie did miss. There, it wasn't like super funny. It wasn't like unfunny. It just like was like, all right, like I see what you're doing there. I know a lot of it was improv, but um, overall, I love this movie. The symmetry of like 3 centuries, 3 decades. That went on a little much, but it was still super sick seeing that at the beginning. Though it got me thinking, how is Superman the first alien? Like, why are they all against Superman for being an alien? If there's probably been aliens for a long, long time that they've known about. The Hammer of Baravia, um, it was attacking Superman, and they were using that for like the political stuff to like get people against Superman. So I don't know why, if they want people to think, hey, Superman is causing Baravia to retaliate, why the Baravian governor guy, why he said, oh, it's not associated with us, which I understand why he said that, but I don't understand why Lex let him say that. I also think that the uh, engineer really found how did she follow Superman so fast and know exactly where he landed in Antarctica. That was a little silly, but like whatever, it's a bad guy tracking someone down. And that interview scene, that scene I could have watched forever. It was so enjoyable, but literally it was just two people sitting in a room talking. I do think that Superman really let the stuff get to him too much, which sure you maybe want him to be more relatable, but he's supposed to be a hero of hope. And when he says like, "Oh, Superman doesn't have time for Instagram," I think they should have stuck with that instead of him being like, "He's a super asshole," like, and him like crying over that. I don't even think that's a good insult. They could have been something more hurtful. But just show your hero being tough. If you want him to be vulnerable, let him get vulnerable in other ways. One question I had was, are there other members of the Justice Gang? Like, we see 3 of them. Is there a Hawk Man? Or is it just Hawk Girl? Um, how do the laws work? Do these people, like Lord and Lex Luthor and all these companies and billionaires, just hire them as mercenaries? Are they funded by the government and get like, I don't know, tax write-offs or something for like sponsoring a superhero team? What are the laws on that? Obviously, superheroes have been around for a while. It's metahumans have been around for a while. It's not a new thing, but it's just interesting, especially with the name Justice Gang. Was there a JSA or a Justice League or anything like that before that they took the name Justice from, or did they create it? Because that would kind of be awkward if later on you're like saying, "Oh, we actually stole this name from Maxwell Lord and his team that he had hired," when you're trying to make it like you're good guys. Like when that issue pops up, that might be an issue. They also, I don't understand why Superman didn't say, like, hey, I am here for the Earth. I'm here to protect the Earth and keep people safe. I am not a representative of the U.S. government. I'm not associated with the U.S. government. I'm doing my own thing. I'm keeping people safe around the globe. Because I think it's what, like, he can, like, hear around the globe, like, completely and fly around in a split second. all that stuff, why he seems to care, or why he seems to not just say something so obvious that would get him out of a lot of trouble. Because I know that he can think fast, so he should have been thinking. Let me just say that. It's also like, why did Lois? How was, first of all, is like the Justice Gang headquarters like super public? Why was there so little security for her to get in? I'm saying, why does she even know where it is in the first place? Um, and that whole thing was a little bit funny. Mr. Terrific, I loved that character. He was great. But why is he just so like willing to go with Lois? I know he's like, oh, it'll make Guy Gardner upset, but like, no, there's no way that he would have been so chill about it. Especially when I feel like he, as like, I just feel like he seems like a guy who's like tougher. Like, hey, like I'm not putting up with any BS. So I'm surprised that he was willing to go off the books so much when I feel like that's probably more of a Guy Gardner type of move, going off the books. Um, I also thought that scene with Mr. Terrific at the beach was so sick. It was one of the best scenes that we've had in a long time. A good action, cool lens, good cinematography, and the one thing with it is like, why were some of the scientists trying to fight him when they saw the guys in the Lexbot suits like getting the crap beat out of them? They should have just ran. Especially like, what, he's not going to go beat up a civilian scientist just because they work for Lex. He doesn't have any reason to be there, like legally speaking. So I don't really know why he would ever beat up those regular scientists in the Hawaiian shirts. Um, I also thought that the engineer, she was a cool character. They should have given her a story arc, a little redemption, and a cool death. I think that she really lacked a story arc there. They could have given her redemption, boom. Oh, I'm actually realizing that Superman's a good guy. And then she saves him or something. And then she could also have, even if they didn't do that, just make her die in a cool way instead of it being like, oh, Superman's falling back down to Earth and you're hanging on to him and you're not letting go and you can't sustain an impact like that. Like, that was a pretty lame death, and they just should not have done that. Could have made it cool. Could have made Superman maybe kill her and have to be hear people say like, "Oh, did Superman kill her?" Or even taking the way that she did die in the movie and having people respond and be like, "Wow, Superman caused her to die. Like, that's messed up," or something like that. Just two last little points. Oh, three last little points. One, was that the full message of Superman's parents saying, "Hey, go take all these wives and multiply your genes," or was that mis like was that misinterpreted? Was that skewed by Lex's team? They never really answer that. They lead you to believe. They led me to believe that that was in fact the full message, and Superman just had never heard it before. But um, I really I really think that if that was the full message, that's a shame. It makes you not think, like, you're like, why? Why did they have to make that the full message? They could have just said like, that's not the full message, like, and done something like that. Instead, they have to ruin Superman's parents and all that jazz. Maybe in some comic they talk about that being the full lesson, or in some version of Earth out there in the comics, that's what he was supposed to do. But I don't think that they should have done that for the film. I think that they dropped the ball on that. And honestly, like, I just didn't like it. I don't think many people really did. And they could have easily fixed it by saying, oh, that's not the full message. Um, they also, like, were super chill about, like, I don't think that the scenes about the Planet Watch or Earth Watch or whatever it's called, they shouldn't have really included that in there. He proposes it to the government and like Rick Flag and stuff. He says like, "Oh, it's not my deal." The other guy, he's like, "Oh, I don't really think so. I can't trust you." All that stuff, and then suddenly, Earthwatch is just now being funded by the government and approved when they just were showing people opposing it. They could have just said, "All right, yeah, it's good," and let it run. Not included at all. or followed up with it. Really, they just throw it in, have some opposition, and then suddenly it's good. That was a bit confusing. I think that with Superman overall, he keeps on saving one person from like one giant building crushing them, which, first of all, how is stuff not falling off and all that crap? But if you're saving one person from a building falling, there's probably a building falling on about 1,000 other people. Um, and that was a bit strange, especially when we know that his strength is like strong enough to like push that up really quickly, not take forever doing it while other people are at risk of dying. And I also wish that they didn't ruin Lex Luthor's reputation so badly at the end to the public image. Um, Maybe they'll rebuild it in a future movie. But I mean, I don't think they should have like ruined him so bad and made him a bad guy in the eyes of the public like that. But it is a good sign. They're not going to fall into the whole Spider-Man trap of doing the same villain over and over and over again, like how they do in Spider-Man with the Green Goblin and how Superman has historically been with Lex Luthor in movies. Instead, I think it's a good sign, but I just think that they could have not ruined his reputation and kept him as like, oh, could Lex Luthor be behind this? Or Lex Luthor could come back at any point and despise Superman once again. Anyways, that's been my thoughts on these movies. I definitely had way more that I probably missed. I wonder if you guys agree with any. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk. I want to hear your guys' opinions on these movies. I really enjoyed them. Superman definitely up there in the nines. Um, yeah, I also loved Metamorpho as a character. He was sick, funny guy, super chill, very easy to root for him. So, yeah, peace.